Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. How are you doing today? Happy Wednesday. I am so glad that the week is half over. How about you? Though that being said, there's a lot of stuff going on, so I'm a little bit nervous about the week being half over because there's a lot for me to do. Just as sort of like an update, the weather is beautiful here. Let's start there. Saturday, really exciting. I'm actually taking Dan to see Aladdin the musical. Aladdin was his favorite Disney movie while he was growing up. I'm a Beauty and the Beast fan myself. But he really loves Aladdin, so for Christmas I bought him tickets for the musical that was coming locally to us. So Saturday we are finally going to go see that. So that's super exciting. And then on Sunday, very, very early, we are getting in our car with our 3 dogs and we are driving all the way to Oregon to my family, where we're going to spend a week. We are going to see my family. I'm actually going to work out of an Oregon office and we're going to spend some time with the family. And it has been a while since we've taken all 3 of those kids on a trip. So we will see how that all works out. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see my family and my grandma. And just a reminder, just to get it out there on your radar, if you were not remembering, April 27th is Independent Bookstore Day. So think about all the books that I talk about, all the books that you write down in your TBR, and go and celebrate one of your independent bookstores. Just buy one book. Just, go out and support them because they are so important to me and I know that they are so important to you. Today's video is actually kind of exciting because I don't do much discussion on my channel about nonfiction, but this whole entire video is dedicated to nonfiction on my TBR to your TBR. This was really spawned by the purchase of the first book we'll talk about in this video. Then I started going through my shelves and noticed that I had some nonfiction that I was super excited about. Now I'm going to tell you about 7 books. 5 of them are out. 1 of them comes out in May and 1 of them comes out in June. And I am really excited to read them all. And so I want to share them with you. So as I always say, get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads. Even if, like me, you don't read a ton of nonfiction, I really think a lot of these books are going to be right up your alley. They're going to teach you a lot of stuff like they're teaching me, I hope. And I hope you guys are really excited about this. Now, I'm also going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to read a little bit from the books, not all of them, but there's a couple of things that I want to share with you guys and sort of hopefully inspire you to pick up these titles. So what's the first book, the book that sort of inspired this video? This book came out, I want to say last month, and that is Zora and Langston, The Story of Friendship and Betrayal by Yuval Taylor. Now you guys know, if you watch my channel at all, I'm utterly obsessed with Zora Neale Hurston. I think she and Their Eyes Were Watching God are utterly brilliant. I am familiar with Langston Hughes. I am not obsessed with him like Zora, but I definitely have read a lot of his poetry over my life, and I know a little bit about his life, but I did not realize that Zora and Langston had quite a friendship that ended very, very poorly. So poorly that after it, they sort of ignored that they even knew each other. And I'm really excited to learn about that in this book. But the part I'm going to read to you, I know that if you guys watched my last video, my modern canon, my modern literary canon video, I talked about how I had heard a fact about Their Eyes Were Watching God. It was here. So here we go. Zora's 1937 Their Eyes Were Watching God remains the single most widely read book ever written by an African American. It outsells even Invisible Man, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, The Color Purple, A Raisin in the Sun, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, and the Autobiography of Malcolm X. Scholar Charles H. Nichols rightly called Langston the most prolific and influential Afro-American writer in our history. Together, Zora and Langston invigorated the Harlem Renaissance, promulgated ideas about African American expressions, and fundamentally changed the course of American letters. And I could not agree more. I think that I still believe that, Their Eyes Were Watching God is a novel. If you haven't read it, you absolutely should. And Langston Hughes has written some of the most beautiful poetry I have ever read in my entire life. So that being said, I am really excited to read this. This is the book I'm reading right now. I have started it. And that is Zora and Langston, A Story of Friendship and Betrayal by Yuval Taylor. And this is out now. You can get your hands on it. The next book I'm going to tell you about, I hauled a while ago, and I don't know why in the world I haven't picked it up, but that is Well-Read Black Girl, edited by Gloria Edim, who is the founder of the Well-Read Black Girl Book Club. This is actually a collection of essays by African American authors. And I follow Gloria, I want to say on Twitter and on Instagram, I think. But I am pretty much obsessed with her. I think she is phenomenal. And then she puts together a collection of essays that has essays by Jesmyn Ward, Tiare Jones, Rebecca Walker, Gabrielle Sidier, and I totally butchered that name. I am super, super sorry. And Kate Jemison, Zinzi Clemens, Morgan Jerkins, all authors that Jacqueline Woodson has an essay in here, you guys. Oh my goodness. So I am obsessed with why I haven't read this, I don't know. But I thought what I would do is, one of the things that I love about writers is when they talk about being readers. And I just want to point out, it has some amazing artwork of the authors in here too. But this is the essay that Jesmyn Ward wrote, and it's called Magic Mirrors. And I just want to read you the first part of it. It says, I was a reader before I was a writer. I fell in love with books when I was 7 years old. It was partially a conscious decision, partially not. Stories were doorways that opened to other worlds. It was easy for me to step through the sentences and forget myself, to walk or fly or run or crawl through the unfamiliar, to swim through the magical. I remember grabbing a reading comprehension packet in 2nd grade as my classmates were grumbling about how they loathed doing the work, and I thought, everyone hates reading, but not me. I'm going to love it. And I did. And I think that Jesmyn Ward is my spirit sister because I absolutely adore her, and everything she said that right there just really sums up, for me, also a lot of my experience. So I am super excited about this essay collection. It's Well-Read Black Girl, edited by Gloria Edim, and it has so many, and it is just gorgeous. It's this naked hardback. Oh, it's so beautiful. So definitely, if you're into essay collections, this is one that you should definitely pick up. Essay collections are the next thing I'm going to talk about too. I purchased How to Write an Autobiographical Novel by Alexander Chee because I'm going to eventually buddy read this with my friend Julie over at BookChew on Instagram. And if you don't follow her and her adorable cat, Dewey, you absolutely should. And I have this on my shelf. I know we're going to read it together. But Alexander Chee is one of those people that inspires with every sentence that he really does write. And I didn't know where to sort of start with this one, so I've been flipping through it. I read a paragraph here, start an essay there. And the essay, the title essay, the autobiography of my novel, starts with this very simple couple sentences. The question came amid some more ordinary ones. How long did the book take to write? And did you do any research? 7 years, and yes. And then, were you a victim of sexual abuse yourself? Yes. Why didn't you just write about your experience, the reader asked me. Why isn't this a memoir? I looked at him and felt confused for a moment. I didn't understand the question immediately. The questionnaire sounded annoyed, as if I were deliberately hiding something from him, as if he had ordered steak and gotten salmon. Had I chosen? I felt in the presence of conflicting, confusing truths. You guys, Alexander Chee can write. So I'm super excited about this. I love essay collections about writing and experience. I'm going to hold that up. Hopefully you guys can get a better look at the cover there. And that is How to Write an Autobiographical Novel, Essays by Alexander Chee. The next book I'm going to tell you about is actually sort of like a historical compendium. I don't know exactly what to call it, a history. And that is the book Transgender History, The Roots of Today's Revolution, edited and written by Susan Stryker. Now, I got this book a little, I want to say like almost a year ago now, in celebration of Gay Pride Month last year, for two reasons. One, in my life, transgender people are very much a part of my community. I have many friends who have transitioned, and I feel like I have some knowledge of the experience and of sort of transition into the transgender experience in America. In no way am I at all an expert. However, I do think that a lot of people do not have any experience and don't understand how long transgender people have been a part of over the world's community for years and ages. And I think that it's really important that there are books out there that can really teach us about that. Now, this book was updated, I want to say in 2012, I want to say. I know the original one was in 2008. But I want to say that this one was updated in 2012, so I apologize if I don't have that date absolutely. Oh no, I'm sorry, 2017, so much more recently. And what this edition also goes into is gender has constantly been changing and evolving, and discussions are happening right now. And it could be, if this is not part of your everyday life, that you could be confused or want to know information regarding non-binary individuals, gender non-conforming, people who are transgender, how that experience goes. And I am so thrilled that there's a book out there that looks at it and explains it and gives us the history and the dynamics and the politics and the personal. I've read a couple of different sections of this book. It's really easy to read, and it's really informative too. So if you're looking to sort of learn about something so you can be a better advocate and also supporter of the transgender community who need our support, you guys are very aware there are stories constantly about the atrocities that are done against the transgender community, and they need our support, and everything that we can learn about it can also help us be better allies in the future. So that's Transgender History, The Roots of Today's Revolution by Susan Stryker. And the cover is this is actually the colors of the transgender flag, which are absolutely beautiful. So the last book that is already out, let's go a little superhero here. That is The Secret History of Wonder Woman by Jill Lepore. And Wonder Woman is one of those characters that I think everyone in the world has some relation to, knows, understands. But I don't think we all knew until this book came out how fascinating her history was, and also how the creator himself was inspired by the feminist movement to create Wonder Woman. So, here it goes. Wonder Woman isn't only an Amazonian princess with badass boots. She's the missing link in a chain of events that begins with the women's suffrage campaigns of the 1910s and ends with the troubled place of feminism fully a century later. Feminism made Wonder Woman, and then Wonder Woman remade feminism, which hasn't been altogether good for feminism. Superheroes, who are supposed to be better than everybody else, are excellent at clobbering people. They're lousy at fighting for equality. But Wonder Woman is no ordinary comic book superhero. The secrets this book reveals and the story it tells places Wonder Woman not only within the history of comic books and superheroes, but also at the very center of the histories of science, law, and politics. Superman owes a debt to science fiction. Batman owes to the hard-boiled detective. Wonder Woman's debt is to the fictional feminist utopia and to the struggle for women's rights. Her origins lie in William Moulton Marston's past, that's the creator of Wonder Woman, and in the lives of the women he loved. They created Wonder Woman too. Wonder Woman is no ordinary comic book character because Marston was no ordinary man, and his family was no ordinary family. Marston was a polymath. He was an expert in deception. He invented the lie detector test. He led a secret life. He had 4 children by 2 women. They lived together under one roof. They were masters of the art of concealment. Why haven't I read this book yet, you guys? I mean, that sounds fascinating. So not only is Wonder Woman is an icon in American culture, have relevance and sort of a historical story to tell, the person who created also created the lie detector test and lied better probably than almost anyone, and had 2 wives with 4 children, but they all lived in one house, which is its own sort of social construct. I think this book sounds phenomenal, and the amount of research that went into it is unbelievable. So that's The Secret History of Wonder Woman by Jill Lepore. This book is also out. So those 5 books are out. You can get your hands on them right now. So let me tell you about the 2 that are coming out. First in May. Now I've already hauled this one, so you may have seen it already, but if you haven't, or even if you had and you forgot to write it down, Furious Hours, Murder, Fraud, and the Last Trial of Harper Lee by Casey Sepp is a book you want on your radars. This comes out by Knopf. It is out in May. Do I know an exact date? I do not. It is out in May. Sorry, I don't have an exact date. So it turns out that after Harper Lee had assisted Truman Capote in writing In Cold Blood, she decided that she wanted to investigate and study something that she was going to sort of write her own version of In Cold Blood. Not her own version, but, you know, a book sort of inspired by real life events. So she was present. This is the story of Reverend Willie Maxwell, who was a rural Alabama preacher who was put on trial for killing 5 of his family members. He had a phenomenal attorney who got him off, but he was then murdered by a family member at the funeral of the last of the people that he supposedly killed. That person, the one who killed him, also got off on murder charges because the same attorney that represented Willie represented that person. Harper Lee was present in all of the trials. She did tons of research and she interviewed. She never wrote the book. So what Casey Sepp does in this novel is she pieces together the story. Not only the story of what Harper Lee was doing, who Harper Lee is a fascinating person in and of herself, but also the story of this murder, this trial, and the intricacies of all of that as well. I think this sounds amazing. So I have to put a big thank you out to my friend Ann Kingman over at Random House and getting me a copy of this early. I think that this sounds fascinating. I cannot wait to dive in. It's right there. That's a nonfiction book that is right up my alley. So that is Furious Hours, Murder, Fraud, and the Last Trial of Harper Lee by Casey Sepp. Again, out in May 2019. Last but certainly not least, from a smaller independent press, this is coming to us from the New Press. This comes out in June of 2019. Again, I don't have an exact date. But this is Night in the American Village, The Women in the Shadow of the U.S. Military Bases in Okinawa by Akemi Johnson. Now, I heard Ms. Johnson speak at an event sometime last year, I want to say it was in the fall, where she read a portion of this novel, and it is absolutely fascinating. So I'm going to read the back of this one to you guys because I want to make sure that I capture, because it's not sort of this story that's a capsule. It's definitely very broad in scope, but really captures an idea. So at the southern end of the Japanese archipelago lies Okinawa, host to a vast complex of U.S. military bases. A legacy of World War II, these bases have been a fraught issue in Japan for decades, with tensions exacerbated by the often volatile relationship between islanders and the military, especially after the brutal rape of a 12-year-old girl by 3 servicemen in the 90s. But the situation is more complex than it seems. In this novel, or this book, sorry, I said novel because that's my default. In this book, journalist Akemi Johnson takes readers deep into the border towns surrounding the bases, a world where culture and political fault lines compel individuals, both Japanese and American, to continually renegotiate their own identities. Focusing on the women there, she follows the complex fallout of the murder of an Okinawan woman by an ex-U.S. serviceman in 2016, and speaks to protesters, to women who date and marry American men, and groups that help them when problems arise, and to Okinawans whose family members survived World War II. I think that sounds fascinating. And when she read from this book, I was totally, absolutely bought in. So again, thank you so much to the New Press. This comes out in June 2019. Sorry, there's some glare there. Support your small independent publishers, and if World War II and the effects of World War II are one of those things that sort of fascinate you, I really do think Night in the American Village, The Women in the Shadow of the U.S. Military Bases in Okinawa is right up your alley. Chris, if you're watching this video, I think this is a book you may enjoy. There you go, Akemi Johnson's nonfiction Night in the American Village. So that is a stack of 7 nonfiction titles, guys, that I'm recommending to you. How often do I recommend nonfiction? So there they are. Let's hold them up there. I hope this video actually inspires you and inspires me to read the nonfiction on my TBR. As always, if you are a return subscriber to my channel, thank you so much. You know how much I appreciate you. If you are new to my channel and this is your first video, well, it is a different one. I hope you come back for another video and more of the books that I absolutely love and I'm excited to read. Until next time, I wish you happy reading and I'll see you soon. Bye!